Hey, Allison Verhalen here, and today I am talking about how to make sure that your marketing strategy is customer-centric rather than brand-centric. We all often talk about this. I don't know if I really want to call it a dichotomy, but it is because only one of us can be front and center, right? Either it's your brand or it's the customer. It should always be the customer. They should always be front and center in everything you do. There's a reason I talk about who is your ideal client, who is your target audience. I talk about this in every aspect of marketing. I feel like every video, every blog post, everything is about who is your ideal client, who is it you're trying to reach, because that will define everything you do. It defines the topics you cover. It defines the types of content you create. It defines the language that you use in those pieces of content. It determines how and where you will go about distributing those pieces of content to make sure it is getting in front of the right people. Everything needs to start and stop with your ideal client. And yet, we still have people going on and on about who they are, what they do, how they got started, how many years they've been in business. I was talking to someone recently who was, we were going over her differentiator, and she was saying she really wanted to talk about how many years she's been in business because that's what sets her apart. I was like, honey, that is not what sets you apart. There are lots of people who have been doing this for years and years. And honestly, no one cares. No one cares how long you've been in business. They care about what you can do for them. They care about what the process is going to be like. They care about how they will feel during and after the process. That's what you need to focus on. How are they going to feel? So this is it. This is how I am going to tell you how to talk about your products and services, because yes, you need to talk about what you do. I'm not saying never talk about yourself. I'm just saying don't make yourself the center of attention in your marketing content. Your customer has to be the center of attention. And then you need to talk about what you do, how you help people in a way that puts them first and front and center. Again, customer-centric marketing. So first and foremost, start with your marketing personas. I actually wrote one singular, and I'm going to go ahead and change that because it needs to be multiple marketing personas. Understand your marketing personas, have them really well defined. Go back and visit them. This is January 22nd when I am recording this, right? So it's the beginning of the year. It is business strategy time. If you have not yet done that for 2024, now is the time to do that. Sit down and strategize what you want for your business for the new year. And that should absolutely, again, everything needs to start and stop with those marketing personas. Who are your clients? Two separate questions, right? Who are your clients? And then who do you want your clients to be? If they happen to be the same, great. You're in an awesome position. I'm not worried about you. That's awesome. It is an enviable position to be in. But that doesn't happen for a lot of us, either because we're not getting the right messaging out, we're not getting any messaging out, or because we're shifting our business. Maybe you loved working with these people back in the day, but now you're in a different position and you really want to be working with a different set of people. It's not bad or wrong. You're just shifting. That's fine. Your marketing personas need to reflect that. You need a whole new set of marketing personas to define your ideal clients for each and every service that you are providing. So start there. Your marketing personas, your demographics, obviously, but also their psychographics. What motivates them to reach out to you? That will either determine the types of content you create, the questions you answer in your content to make sure that when they're Googling something or asking someone for a referral, that they will find you because you will have provided the answer and they will find their way to you. It also means that if the next step they need is to reach out to you, you got to make sure that you make it really easy for them to reach out to you, if that makes sense. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later. So next step, answer your ideal client's questions. So once you understand their psychographics, what makes them tick, make sure that you have a really clear understanding of what brings them to you. Now, what questions they're asking will be different based on where they are in the buyer journey. If they're earlier on in the buyer journey, if they're asking how to do such and such, what is such and such, what's the difference between these two or three different things, right? those are informational. We talk about this a lot with keywords, right? You've got your informational, your navigational, and your, I'm forgetting the word for it, but the selling, commercial, that's the word for it. When they're getting ready to buy, those are the commercial ones. Those are the things like, what is the best such and such in my area? Or who provides this service to people like me in this specific geographic area? If they're comparing, this product or this brand versus this brand, which is better? Which one do I need? Those are people who are, if they're not ready to buy, they're getting close to buying, they're seriously considering buying. And now you just need to make sure that when they are ready to buy, they find you. So that's another thing. And again, answering the right questions at the right time. A lot of the time, people in the earlier stages, the how to, the what is, the this versus that, what do I need to know about these two different things, services, industries, whatever it may be, make sure that you are creating content that makes sense for them to be consuming early in the buyer journey. And then make sure that your call to action is super targeted for that. Because if they're in the early stages of the buyer journey and you know that your business tends to have a long buyer journey, if you're selling something that's inexpensive and or a necessity, you might have a super short buyer journey. You might have someone going, I need this now. Where can I get this? And then you can go straight from, here's what you need to know about such and such to here's how you buy from us. Those of us in B2B and or professional services, we tend to have a longer buyer journey. It tends to make more sense to lead someone to our webinar or follow us on social media or sign up for our newsletter or read these other articles on similar topics. Have a really good call to action. That does not mean that you don't eventually lead them to working with you. It just means you have to have the whole process mapped out so you know when to ask them to work with you or suggest that they reach out and schedule that conversation. Use their language. I work with a lot of lawyers. It's a problem with lawyers. And I know you use legalese and the Latin phrases all day, every day, and it's just part of your vernacular and you don't even think about it. But your prospects do. And I was talking about this actually with a lawyer the other day who was saying that, he sees a lot of blog posts out there written by other lawyers where sometimes you have to read it a couple times in order to get it. The problem with that is your prospects will not read it a second time. If they don't get it the first time, they're just going to leave and find what they need someplace else. They are not going to stick around and try and figure out what you're talking about if they can get that information from someone who will explain it to them in a way that they actually understand. So leave the legalese at home, leave the acronyms at home, right? There's a reason that every time I talk about SEO, KPIs, CTAs, I always spell out what those things mean before I go into talking about how to use them for your business, right? Because I know that my audience is not always in that world. They're not using those acronyms day in and day out. So leave the jargon at home, use their language. This also goes way beyond things, making it accessible for them and making sure they understand it, but making sure that it is content that resonates with them, right? If you've ever been in a conversation with someone and you find yourself, maybe they start talking really softly. So then you start talking really softly because that's kind of a social cue that this is what we're doing now is we're talking softly, right? It's called mirroring. We all do this to a certain extent, most of us unconsciously. If you do it too much, it can be creepy, right? There is definitely a line you don't want to cross, but a certain amount of, if you're like doing everything that they're doing and every time they move, you move the same way, that's a little weird unless you're playing the mirror game and you're an actor, then in which case that's another story. But the language that you need to be using in your marketing content needs to be kind of mirroring the words and phrases people use when they're talking about you or when they're talking about your services. Again, this is why I love keywords, because keywords at keyword research not only shows you what people are searching for, but the words and the phrases they are using to look for that information. That will tell you so much more about, again, their psychographics, what it is that makes them tick, what they understand, what's really driving them crazy, right? What is the language that they use when they are looking for a solution to this problem? And then you use that language in your marketing content. This is why I love using your testimonials. First of all, if you are not already requesting testimonials from your satisfied clients on a regular basis, you need to remedy that right away and start asking for testimonials on a regular basis. Those are marketing gold, right? Because people see that there's a real live person who worked with you on this and had a great experience. And this person is just like them. And so they will probably have a great experience if they decide to work with you. It's social proof, right? You can talk about yourself till the sun comes up, but it doesn't matter. Not that it doesn't matter, but coming from someone else, it just carries so much more weight because, again, it's someone who actually worked with you, who's just like your prospect, who had a great experience. There's really no better marketing content than that. But the other reason I love testimonials is it teaches you how other people are talking about you. Because if they're creating this content in a way that's meant to go out, they know it's going out into the world, right? And if they're using certain words and phrases and you hear these things over and over again, that's an indication that those are the words and phrases that resonate with your target audience. Those are the things that, and if they need that and they hear that from you, that will click with them, and they won't even realize it. They'll just be like, oh, I need to work with this person. And they won't realize that it's because you're using their language. So how to go about getting that language? Again, testimonials are awesome, but my other favorite way is just ask. Just in conversation with people, take note of the kinds of words and phrases that they are using, the kinds of language that they use when they're talking to you, when they're talking about you. Surveys are great for this as well. So you should absolutely implement those whenever you can. I know people don't always fill out surveys, but you'd be surprised how many people will, especially if it's super short. And you'd be surprised at the amount of the kinds of answers that you can get. And last, but certainly not least, is map out the buyer journey. Again, like I said, make sure you understand where people are in the buyer journey when they're encountering each piece of content so that you know what is that next step that you want them to take, and then how are you going to get them to take it. So that is it. That is my tip for you, all about how to make sure that your content is customer-centric and not brand-centric. So if you have any other questions, you can reach out to me, Allison Verhalen. You can find me at my website, AV, as in my initials, Allison Verhalen. That is avwritingservices.com. And you can send me an email at info@avwritingservices.com. That's it. Have a great week and happy blogging, everyone.